and welcome to this analysis video with me, Wayne, from swimmingcyclingrunning.com. Well, I apologise for not adding any new swimming videos on the channel for some time, but I get my inspiration from my swimmers, and during COVID the pools were closed, so naturally my inspiration dried up. What I look for in a video is something that I think will be relevant to the vast majority of swimmers, either in stroke mechanics or in making us the fastest swimmer possible given our own physiology and level of fitness. And so to this video. In the run-up to Christmas, after the pools opened again, I've been coaching a young woman who's very fit, can run marathons and cycle kilometre after kilometre, but when she got into the pool found it difficult to swim 50 metres without stopping because she was out of breath. And this is an extremely common problem with fit runners and cyclists who want to complete a triathlon but haven't done much swimming since they were a child or as an adult. In order to stop the panic and breathe easily in front crawl, you have to rotate. By rotating, you can get your mouth above the water easily without raising your head, which means you can swim with greater streamlining and more efficiently, so you'll be faster and use less energy. Now, after Christmas, I went to Cape Verde for 4 weeks. And while I was away, she trained with a local club. I naturally asked how things went and if the coaches had been helpful. She said the only comment she'd received was that she was over-rotating. And my response to that was, well, you have to over-rotate at the moment to breathe. So this raised the really important question. How much rotation is the correct amount of rotation for a front crawl swimmer? Let's go to the computer to analyse why swimmers rotate the amount they do, and from that come to some conclusion as to what amount of rotation might be right for you. So here we have the initial swimmer I was talking about swimming along, and she doesn't look particularly efficient. As she's swimming, you can see she's kicking hugely to get her head out the water. Her arms are pushing down instead of pushing forward, and her body's making a large angle with the surface of the water. If we take the lane rope line through to her neck and then take a line down the body, we can see that that's 25 degrees, and that's creating a huge amount of drag. And what she's effectively trying to do by using these legs to kick really hard is she's trying to kick her head out of the water to breathe. That is causing her a lot of problems, and the problem with her is as she gets tired, things actually get worse. She starts to droop down at the back even further, and that means she has to kick even harder, which is making her even more tired and not actually driving her forward at all. So you can see here she's doing a lot of work to get very little forward motion, and that we have to change by trying to lift her up and get her closer to the surface. So what we're aiming to teach her is that if she rotates sufficiently, she can actually breathe without pushing her head out the water. Now she's still pushing down with that hand, which is causing the head to go up. But if you look at the body position now, she's actually fairly level with the surface, and as she starts stroking, she gets level. It's only when she breathes and she's trying to push that head out the water that she actually moves anyway from the surface, but she's still very much now a much neater and tidier swimmer just by making her rotate. But making her rotate, we're making rotate a particular amount. Now if again we take the surface of the water up to her body and then down through her shoulder, you can see we're 79 degrees there. I would say probably more, probably 80 degrees to 90 degrees of rotation. And we have to do that because what we want to do is we want to get her rotating so that she can get her mouth out the water. That's happening now, and we're getting her closer to the surface. So things are working, but she needs to rotate fully 90 degrees in order to be comfortable to be able to breathe. And breathing is the huge problem in swimming. If you cannot breathe, you're not going to be able to swim and you're going to panic. So we're taking the panic away from her by giving her a method by which she can breathe. And that's hugely important. But what happens perhaps with other swimmers who are slightly more accomplished? Here we have a slightly more accomplished swimmer coming towards us, and you'll see that as he turns to breathe, his mouth effectively stays in the water, and that means that he can rotate less. So he has less rotation than the other swimmer as they swim. So let's just gauge that rotation. So his mouth's still in the water, you can still see it there. And if we take the angle I mean, we're slightly off straight here, so let's take that angle 42 degrees, say between 42 and 45 degrees that he's actually rotating there instead of the 90. And that's purely because he can keep his mouth effectively in the water whilst he breathes. But how can he do that? Why can he do that and the other swimmer not? To do that, we effectively have to look at this swimmer from outside the water. Now, if you look at his head now, you can see there's a build-up of water in front of his head. And as he swims forward, that water pushes away and creates a bow wave. You can see that bow wave being created as he moves forward. And the reason he creates a bow wave is because he's swimming below 1 minute 40 per 100. This swimmer can normally get below 130 per 100. So he's pretty fast swimmer. So the speed he's swimming gives that push of the water away from him. So when he turns his head, his mouth is still below the water, but he has effectively a trough of water to breathe in because of the speed that he's swimming. Let's go back and check the other swimmer and see what happens to their bow wave. So we're looking above the surface with this swimmer. You want to see what sort of bow wave she creates. Now you can see there's a slight bow wave there, but it's disappearing. And as she goes forward, there's not much of a push up of the water, and that's purely because of the speed she's going. So if you don't push the water forward, you have to rotate to breathe. Now she could rotate slightly less than that, but there's no real bow wave that she's creating to push the water forward because she's just not quite swimming fast enough. You can see there. She's made a stroke and there's really no bow wave at all that she can possibly push forward so that she can breathe in. So she naturally has to rotate more than the other swimmer simply because she needs to breathe and she's not got the ability or speed to create a bow wave to breathe in. The bow wave principle is illustrated even better with faster swimmers, and this is at recent regional championships that I took my swimmers to. You can see as this swimmer in the blue cap turns to breathe, he creates a huge bow wave in front of him and he can breathe in that bow wave. You can see that, and the swimmer closer to us is about to do the same thing, and as he turns to breathe you can see that bow wave being created because of the speed he's swimming forward, and so he can just breathe in that trough without completely turning his head up into the sky. So the amount you need to rotate is governed by your speed. Someone swimming crawl at around 145 per 100 meters and below starts to create that bow wave that you saw in those examples. When that happens, the aim for the swimmer is to look directly across the pool when they breathe, so you can see anything that is directly on poolside. When you're swimming slower than that, there is no trough to breathe in and you have to rotate more so that you end up looking at the sky or the roof. If you don't, the only way to breathe is by pushing your head out of the water, and this in turn pushes your legs down and moves you out of that streamlined position. And that is far worse for your swimming than the over-rotation. Without any rotation, you also shorten your stroke. Now I can reach this far if my body remains level with the surface of the water. As I rotate, it enables me to reach further down the pool, increasing the length of my stroke, which, if I can maintain my stroke rate, will increase my speed. So rotation doesn't only help you breathe, it also increases your stroke length and allows you to maintain a better streamlined position. So everyone needs rotation, it's just the degree of rotation that changes as your speed increases. Well, hopefully you found that useful. If you have, please give us a thumbs up, it really helps the channel, and remember to subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. See you soon.